Hi everyone, welcome to English for You. I'm Kat.
I'm Elsie.
And today we are talking about astrology.
Wow.
Star
sounds
signs.
romantic.
Yeah, I mean it could be if you believe in that sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's different astrology according to like Greek or Western astrology and Chinese astrology. It's different signs, different ideas about what things mean, what different animals or symbols mean, right? So what's your star sign?
Do we want to guess what my star sign is?
I could not guess because I don't follow astrology. I'm gonna say just default Aries.
Aries, nope.
Pisces.
Ooh.
Oh, so your birthday is
In March.
Oh, okay. I'm the one right before you. I am Aquarius.
水瓶座.
Yeah, the water bearer, which I always find interesting is an air sign. It's not a water sign.
Yeah, right?
That's strange to me, but I don't follow astrology, so I don't really know that much.
So which star sign are we going to talk about today?
We're not talking about Aquarius, we're not talking about Pisces or Aries, we are talking about Taurus.
Taurus.
And we're talking about the story behind Taurus. We're not talking about people who are Tauruses. We're talking about where the star sign came from, where you can see the stars that make up this sign, and kind of the story behind it. So it's a really interesting story, actually, and I think that we should just get right into it and learn a little bit more.
Reading. Taurus, the constellation and the story behind it. When you look at the stars, many of them form patterns known as constellations. The constellation Taurus is visible from October and early November. The name Taurus actually comes from the Latin word for bull. To find Taurus, look at the sky along the ecliptic near the constellations Orion and Aries. It looks like a pattern of stars in a V shape. It has horns that extend out across the sky. Taurus is one of the oldest known star patterns. The first known records of Taurus go back 15,000 years. Ancient painters couldn't help but be inspired by it. They drew Taurus on the walls of caves in Lascaux, France. There are also many stories inspired by Taurus. One of the most famous is the story of Zeus and Europa. Europa was the most beautiful woman in Phoenicia. She caught the attention of Zeus, the king of all the Greek gods, and he fell for her. One day, Europa was gathering flowers. Zeus saw his chance. Her father's herd of cattle was nearby. Quick as a flash, Zeus changed into a beautiful white bull.
All right, so as you know, we are talking about star signs. That means we're getting right into the stars. When you look at the stars, many of them form patterns known as constellations. So yeah, as you can probably guess, a constellation is a group of stars that form a particular pattern in the sky. It comes from con, which means with, and stella, which is star. Yeah, so constellations is stars that are put together and they look like a picture.
所以呢，当你抬头看星星的时候，你会看到星星们构成不同的 patterns。patterns 指的是图案，那这一些图案就是 constellations 星座。
Do you have a favorite constellation?
No, I don't. Do you?
I like Orion because it's the easiest to find.
We're going to talk about that for a little bit.
We are going to talk about Orion a little bit later, but we're talking about Taurus. So, the constellation Taurus is visible from October and early November. And to me, visible means you are able to see it. So vis means see, and of course we have able or able, which means to be able. So visible means you can see it. If you can't see it, it's invisible. Ooh. So an example sentence for visible. The sun became visible over the hills as it rose, pouring light out onto the fields.
Wow, such a beautiful sentence. Visible 这个形容词代表看得见的、可见的，所以呢，我们说啊，我们能够从10月到11月初看见 Taurus， 看见金牛座。那相反，看不见的、隐形的，就刚刚 Kat 提到的 I am 字首加进去 ，invisible
But Taurus is not invisible. It's just, not able to be seen for maybe the summer months. The name Taurus actually comes from the Latin word for bull. Yeah, so anytime you see something with tower in it, T-A-U-R, that relates to bulls or cows. So a bull, as you can guess, is a male cow or ox. It can also be other kinds of male animals, like you can have a bull elephant, like a big male elephant, or a bull moose, which is a kind of big deer. But mostly when we say just bull, we are talking about male cows with big old horns and they charge people, and, that's a bull. So an example sentence for bull, the farmer has 2 strong bulls to help pull heavy machines for him. That's a good job for a bull.
Bull 代表就是公牛，像是我们在西班牙斗牛当中看到的那一些牛呢，就是 bulls。那再来呢，我们还有一个字是 Latin。它是一个形容词，代表拉丁语的，所以 Taurus 它来自拉丁语中公牛的意思。
Yeah. And so you will see a lot of different words like taurine, which is a chemical that is kind of like related to aggression and something like that. To find Taurus, look at the sky along the ecliptic near the constellations Orion and Aries. Okay, we've got 3 things to talk about here. If you're not used to looking at the stars, that's okay because I'm not either, but we're going to help you a little bit to find Taurus. So an ecliptic, first of all, is the path of the sun across the sky. So you think about how the sun moves across the sky during the day, that's its ecliptic. And then we have 2 other constellations that you can use to help find Taurus. Orion is my favorite constellation because it's very easy to see. You can see it because there's 3 stars in a straight line. Doot, doot, doot. And Orion is the hunter. That's Orion's belt when you are looking at the 3 stars. And then there's Aries, which is a ram, and it's the male sheep, and it's a bent line of 4 stars. So if you can see those 2, then you can see Taurus nearby.
是的，这边有几个字呢，我们需要注意，像是第一个 ecliptic， 它指的就是黄道，所以沿着黄道 along the ecliptic， 你可以在猎户座和白羊座附近看到金牛座，所以猎户座我们说是 Orion， 白羊座 Aries， 那它们的附近会有 Taurus 出现。
Another way I used to find it is that there's a story about Taurus chasing the 7 sisters, which is this group of 7 little stars together, and then Orion is chasing Taurus.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it looks like Taurus looks like a pattern of stars in a V shape.
看起来就像是一个 V 的形状。
It has horns that extend out across the sky. Interesting. So it's V-shaped because of its horns. Let's learn about what a horn is. If you've ever seen a cow or a goat or a sheep in real life, especially a male one, you have seen them have horns. So a horn is one of the hard, pointy parts that grows out of their heads. Usually it's made out of a material that's kind of like bone, but it's not exactly bone, and it doesn't hurt if you cut them off. Horns can also be found on rhinos' noses, like that long thing on a rhino's nose, that's also a horn. So yeah, essentially a horn is a bony, pointy outgrowth from some animals' heads, and especially bulls. So an example sentence for horn, the sheep's horns curl around its ears and protect its head.
刚刚说到的 horn 代表就是牛啦或羊等等动物的角。那再来呢，这个角怎么样呢？我们看到一个动词是 extend. What does it mean?
So horns, if you think about it, on a bull, they go out this way, right? They extend. To extend means to continue in a certain direction or over a certain distance or time. Or it can just mean to stretch out. So like if I extend my arm, that means I am stretching out my arm. So you could say, like, for an example sentence, the mountains extend all the way to the sea. The horns extend from Taurus's head.
Extend 这个动词呢，就是延伸，所以呢，在课文里面我们看到一个形容词子句 that extend out across the sky， 用来修饰前面的 horns 牛角，那指的是呢，金牛座有延伸在天空当中的牛角。
So it's very interesting, and you see this V in the sky, and you're like, oh, that's a bull. Interesting. but Taurus is one of the oldest known star patterns, one of the oldest known constellations.
金牛座呢是最早知道的星座之一。
How old is it? Well, the article says the first known records of Taurus go back 15,000 years. That's basically before humans could write. So we were looking at the stars before we were writing about it. So that means they go back to. So to go back to something is saying when the first date of something was or probably was. So we're saying they go back 15,000 years.
Go back 或 go back to 那就是追溯到，所以 go back 15,000 years 往前要回到15000年前，那15000年前就开始有金牛座的记录了。
Yeah, so you can see like examples of bulls in drawings and stuff like that, and that's what the article says too. Ancient painters couldn't help but be inspired by it, by Taurus.
今天的 Language in Focus 要讲到的是表示忍不住或是不得不的句型。那句型是主词出来之后，第一种选择加上 can't help， 再加上 VING， 或是第二种选择主词加 can't help but， 再加一个原形动词。直接给同学们例句咯。For example, Joshua couldn't help telling his sister the truth, even though he was not supposed to. 虽然不应该，但是 Joshua 还是忍不住跟他妹妹说出实情。这句话也可以怎么说呢？我们可以说成Joshua couldn't help but tell his sister the truth, even though he was not supposed to. 那回到课文呢，我们看到 ancient painters couldn't help but be inspired by it. 我们用原形 be 动词，因为要带出被动。
So as you can get the idea, we're talking about art, and ancient painters were inspired by Taurus and by bulls in their real life. So to inspire somebody means to give them the idea for a piece of work, like, for example, an artist. Like, if they are inspired by flowers, that means they might get the idea for an artwork from flowers. Writers can be inspired by certain events. And it could just be anything that gives you an idea, and then you create something from that idea. That's your inspiration.
没错 ，inspire 这个动词是启发。那你被启发之后，你可能有灵感，那就是你的 inspiration。
So here's an interesting fact. They being early humans, drew Taurus on the walls of caves in Lascaux, France. This is a very, very famous cave, the cave of Lascaux. So a cave is, think of cavemen. It's people who lived in caves. Caves are large holes that are in the earth that are either go down or in, and they're formed by natural processes. So like maybe it's in the side of a mountain or a hill, or it could go under the ground. It could also be a cave underwater too. So caves exist underwater, but you can't live in them. So the caves in Lascaux are caves that were in the side of a hill. So an example sentence for cave. We used ropes to go down into the cave and turned on our lights to see. What can you see in a cave?
Cave 这个名词呢，当然就是洞穴。那我们这边提到的拉斯科洞窟壁画，同学们可能在历史或地理课本里面会看到，它是位于法国西南部的世界遗产，在1940年的时候被意外的发现。
So Lascaux was one of the first or the earliest examples of cave art, and people aren't allowed to go into it anymore, but the drawings are still there, and they show a lot of bulls, and they show Taurus in the sky. There are also many stories inspired by Taurus.
还有很多的故事是受金牛座所启发的。我们今天就要来讲一个 We're going to talk about one of them, right?
Exactly. So Taurus, inspired a lot of stories. Of course, some of them were from ancient Greece or ancient Rome, like, the Latin language Taurus. One of the most famous is the story of Zeus and Europa. Europa, that's who Europe was named after.
所以其中一个著名的故事就是 Zeus 跟 Europa 的 love story。
Oh yeah, a love story. So, how does the story go? Europa was the most beautiful woman in Phoenicia.
Phoenicia 中文翻腓尼基，它是一个位于地中海地区的古王国，接近现在的叙利亚、黎巴嫩和以色列。Europa 是里面最漂亮的女人。
And of course, as a woman back then, if you were the most beautiful, that made you the most valuable, right? So she was the most valued woman in her kingdom, right? And she caught the attention of Zeus. the king of all the Greek gods. And he fell for her. Ooh, how lovely. So she caught his attention. Let's find out what that means. All right, so to catch somebody's attention means to make them interested in you, to make them want to watch you. Of course, if somebody's attention is on you, that means they're watching you. And if you catch their attention, it means that you kind of made them go, ah, interesting. I'm going to watch this person. You caught their attention. And of course, when you catch somebody's attention, often they fall for you. So if you fall for somebody, it basically means you fall in love.
所以这是有步骤的哈，你要先吸引到某人的注意，然后呢，再让那个人爱上你。Catch somebody's attention 代表就是吸引某人的注意。那除了用 catch 之外呢，我们还可以用像是 attract 或是 draw 这样子的动词。So for example, as soon as Kat walked into the room, she caught my attention.
Oh gosh.
代表 Kat 一走进来就吸引了我的注意力。
Did you fall for me?
Almost.
Oh,
Fall for
so close.
somebody. 爱上某人，我们当然也可以说 fall in love with somebody. 那这边我们看到是他用过去式 fell for， 所以希腊的众神之神宙斯 Zeus 马上注意到 Europa， 然后爱上她了。
Oh, so Zeus fell in love with Europa as soon as he saw her, basically. One day, Europa was gathering flowers. La-di-da-di-da, let me pick some flowers in my field.
有一天 Europa 在采花。
So, of course, she's got her flowers. She looks very beautiful.
Everything's like in a fairy tale.
I know, it pretty much is a fairy tale. Zeus saw his chance. Her father's herd of cattle was nearby. Okay, so first we've got Zeus seeing his chance. So now we see that there's a bunch of cattle nearby. So first of all, it's a herd. And we call it a herd because it's a group of animals. And usually a herd is grass-eating animals. So you will say a herd of cows, a herd of sheep, a herd of deer, something like that, a herd of horses. So yeah, any animals that eat grass together, you can call them a herd. And in this case, it's a herd of cattle. Cattle is what we call cows when they're in a big group, and usually when they're being farmed for milk or for meat, when they're owned by somebody who is using them for products that are called cattle. So an example sentence, all of the cattle were called in from the fields to sleep in the barn on the cold night.
Herd 这个名词呢，用于代表大型动物的兽群。那再来我们看到的 cattle， 它是个复数形哦，所以你会发现它是个单复数同形的字，代表牛只。So what did Zeus do?
Well, it's something to do with the cattle. He says, quick as a flash, Zeus changed into a beautiful white bull. So Zeus turned into a cow, basically.
Okay.
A really, really nice looking cow, a really nice male cow. Quick as a flash. So basically he's thinking like, okay, I gotta do something fast, very, very quickly, in the blink of an eye, quick as a flash.
Flash 我们是闪电，所以呢 quick as a flash 就是快速的、闪电似的、一眨眼的，也可以用 in a flash， 或者是刚刚 Kat 提到的 in the blink of an eye。所以我们今天的课文最后说到，它马上变成了一只白公牛。帅气的白公牛 very handsome.
So a very, very handsome white bull became Zeus. And, well, Zeus became a very handsome white bull. And Europa probably saw this bull and was thinking, we don't know, because we are
We'll find out tomorrow.
Exactly.
Right.
We're leaving you on a cliffhanger. We are leaving with Zeus turning into the bull. We're going to find out the rest of this. Well, we said it's a love story. So we're going to find out the rest of the love story in day 2 of our article, where we learn a little bit more about the story of Taurus. So since that's the end of day 1, let's go ahead and go to our For You chat.
For You chat.
Okay, our For You chat question for today, it's an interesting one because I think there are different answers around the world. But the question is, what other constellations do you know? Name them. So we named a few already. We named Taurus, Orion, Aries, the Seven
Pisces.
Sisters. Pisces, yeah. Aquarius.
Cancer.
Yeah. I always think of the 2 that usually are the easiest to see around the year. The Big Dipper and the Little Dipper.
Oh,
Big spoon and little spoon.
Small one.
Yeah.
And So there are the 12 star signs that we can name.
Yeah, I don't know how to find all of them in the sky, but I know that they're there.
They're there. Right.
So if you are a big star lover, you can probably find them around the year.
And there's an app that can show you where they are in the sky.
Really? What's that?
I don't remember the name of the app, but you can definitely find it. We're not sponsored.
No, you can probably help use the app to find them though.
Right.
And you probably have to go outside of the city to really see them well, but they're always there. Yeah. So if you are interested in going to find your star sign in the sky, finding Taurus in the sky, you can probably go somewhere like Hehuanshan or some other mountain where the stars are very, very clear, and you can find them there. For now, we're going to say goodbye and see you in day 2 for the rest of our story about Zeus and Europa. See you then. Bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Visible. Billy needs his glasses. Without them, only soft shapes are visible to him. Bull. Many people feel the sport of fighting bulls is cruel to animals. Horn. The goat lowered its head and ran right at Jack, sticking its horns into poor Jack's leg. Extend. This hallway extends right into the next building through an underground tunnel. Cave. Some bears sleep in dark and quiet caves for the entire winter. Cattle. Harry's cattle aren't used for milk or beef. He just lets them walk around and eat his grass.
智慧小补帖
Constellation. Ecliptic. Inspire. Herd.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net